This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt stuck, whether it's a major life transition, a dark night of the soul, or just staying small out of fear. If you've ever struggled to move forward, if you're repeating unhealthy patterns in relationships, or you have a black belt in beating yourself up, you were meant for more, and this podcast is for you. We'll get real, we'll get vulnerable, we'll probably cuss a little bit, and we'll get to the root of it all, your self-worth. With every step, you'll find the courage to rise. You've probably heard me talk on previous episodes about how I used to practice Ashtanga yoga. And there were many principles in Ashtanga that applied off the mat as well. And one of the sayings that really stuck with me and that I want to talk about in today's episode was this: if you move, it will stay. If you stay, it will move. Now, in the context of the practice, for those of you that don't know, the 5-second overview is that the Ashtanga yoga practice, you follow a certain sequence of poses, you hold each pose for 5 breaths. And as you can imagine, sometimes from day to day, our body is in a different place, and some of the poses can feel more challenging than others. And so that saying was to indicate that when you are in a pose and you are feeling the need to jump out of it, and to be clear, this is not about pushing through pain. There's a very clear difference between allowing yourself to stay in something and then physically pushing yourself into injury, right? But this was about staying in it and softening into it, with the idea being that if you leapt out of the pose, then you were never going to be able to move through the pose. And if you leapt away from what you were meant to sit with, you were never going to be on the other side of it, because if you stay with it and relax into it layer by layer, then it will move. And then every progressive expression of that particular posture will continue to deepen and evolve. And how that ties into what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about the concept of presence. And you often hear this talked about in the sense of being present in the moment, being present with the people around us. We know that we live in a culture and a society of distraction, thanks to all of our lovely glowing rectangles that we carry around in our pockets and our purses. And while that is certainly a definition and an element of presence, being present with those that we love and being present with what's going on around us, what that really means is that we are focusing our attention right here in the moment. Because typically we are never living in the present moment. We are always either worrying about something that happened in the past, fretting over something that happened, rehashing a conversation or an incident, replaying an event, or we're flashing forward and worrying or agonizing or borrowing trouble from the future. And very rarely are we really truly here in the present moment. So the first element of this is literally that, is to catch yourself in the moments when you find yourself leaping out of being in the present moment, which is going to be probably 99% of the time, unless you've already done some kind of mindfulness or some kind of work on bringing yourself back into the moment. And really what that means is, whether you're working at your desk, whether you're driving, whether you are walking the dog or being with your children, your spouse, or your friends, or even in sitting down to read a book or listen to something, that instead of multitasking and doing 16 things at once, consciously or unconsciously, you are bringing yourself back to what is occurring immediately now in this moment, which can look like, first and foremost, interrupting that pattern of distraction, which is catching yourself when you're everywhere but here, and then grounding yourself back into it. This is where the gratitude practice is a great way to do this. You've heard me talk about that before, where you're immediately becoming aware of all the things that you're grateful for in this very moment, which is a way of interrupting that pattern and bringing yourself back here to the now. And that's where you've heard me say before to make it weird, which is to get grateful for the fact that I have a voice to speak these words, that I have the ability to record these words, that I have the ability to share these with you out on the big wide internet, that you can listen to me on that tiny little glowing rectangle in your hand, that you have ears to hear. It's really getting granular about all the things that you can be grateful for in the moment, which is also inherently bringing you into presence with the moment. And when we are present with the moment, we are able to enjoy our life no matter what's going on in a richer and truly more fulfilling way. Because otherwise, we are constantly looking for what's next or worrying about what has passed, and we are never really truly enjoying the moment and living our lives and being present with what is here now. Because, and I don't mean this in a dire way, but as they say, the future is promised to no one, and the point of being here in this human experience is to live this human experience with the entire rich tapestry of emotions and experiences, from the really, really shitty, crappy ones to the depths of sadness sometimes and grief, all the way to the opposite end of the spectrum of experiencing the bliss and the joy of what's occurring. And the idea is that while you are experiencing that entire tapestry of emotion, you are experiencing the emotion, but you are not necessarily riding the wild ass roller coaster that comes with it, meaning that you are able to be present with what's happening without buying a ticket to the ride. Now, that takes practice, and it takes really training your system, bringing yourself into a consistent, coherent balance, building that personal resilience and those resources internally, which takes time. And it's also allowing you to really experience the full tapestry of life, because sometimes I think we have this unconscious perception that life is only ever meant to be the sunshine, rose petals, and bunny farts. And that's actually not true of the human experience, because we are here to experience all of it, to feel the whole range, and to really get that 360 experience of everything that our five senses allow us to experience, as well as everything that just living on this planet allows us to experience. And unconsciously, I think that we feel we are only meant to be present with the things that are positive. But the reason that I brought up the quote from the Ashtanga yoga practice, that if you move, it will stay, and if you stay, it will move, is to also bring awareness to finding presence with the uncomfortable parts, with the emotionally heavy parts, with possibly the physical pain or discomfort. And what that looks like is when we are experiencing something uncomfortable, whether you're experiencing a type of emotional pain, whether it's a physical discomfort, something is aching or sore, maybe it's a headache, maybe it's cramps, something that's happening in your body, then typically what we want to do is we want to numb it or we want to avoid it, which is the same as jumping out of it. Now, I always have to add these disclaimers. To be clear, if you are non-functional and you need to take something, I'm not ever saying don't take medication. I'm not a doctor. What I'm sharing is my experience with these concepts, and you are a sovereign being, so do as you choose. But what I'm saying is we will typically hop out of whatever is uncomfortable. And it's part of why one of the early writings that I did was talking about the concept of scar tissue in our physical body, but connecting it to what happens when we don't allow ourselves to process, feel, and move through some kind of emotional pain that we've experienced. And this is where that concept of being present with the discomfort comes in, because if we are constantly in a state of numbing or avoiding that which is uncomfortable, or even a small hint of discomfort, and pushing it away, then first and foremost, we're not gaining the wisdom of what it's potentially trying to show us. And we are also numbing and avoiding that experience And the more that we push away from something and the more that we resist something, you've also probably heard the phrase, what we resist persists, in the same way that if you move, slash, if you avoid it, jump out of it, numb it, run away from it, it will stay. It's not going anywhere until you are with it, in presence with it. And if you stay, meaning if you are in presence with it, then it will start to move. And in a physical sense in our bodies, we do sometimes go through seasons where we have physical discomfort for one reason or another. And typically we want to push away from it. And what I would invite you to do, and what I practice now in my life, is when I have some kind of discomfort like that, is first of all, your body is typically sending you those signals for a reason. And so learning your body's wisdom is also important. It could be you have a headache because you're dehydrated and your body is telling you, you need to drink more water, okay? Or it could be telling you you had one too many glasses of wine last night. It's typically a signal that something is out of homeostasis in your body. And sitting with it long enough to start to understand what that is, instead of numbing it and avoiding it or not wanting to experience any kind of discomfort, will allow you to start to be in relationship to your body as well. And I think sometimes in our society, we want to jump out of anything that is remotely negative or uncomfortable instead of being with it long enough to learn what it is here to tell us or to teach us. And also going into those sensations. And this can sometimes feel like the thing that's like, why the hell would I want to do this? But this is being present with what's happening in your body, because what you will find if you practice this, if there is a sensation of discomfort or pain in your body, typically, depending on the severity of it, we'll have a physiological response to it. Sometimes our breath gets shorter and shallow and we get more tense. And so if we run away from it or try to avoid it, typically those types of sensations are going to persist, because it will usually also be accompanied by thoughts of how much we don't want to be experiencing that pain, right? I'm using a physical example, but this applies to emotional pain as well. Usually it will be thoughts of how much we don't want to experience the pain, how unfair it is that we have it to begin with, how much we want it to go away, how much we don't like it. These thoughts create a loop in our bodies as well. And so essentially what we're doing when we're pushing away from it, denying it, avoiding it, is creating more of the same in doing that. And so going into it and being with it literally looks like being present to it, which is going to be a process of, let's say you have a pain in your shoulder, which maybe I do. And if there's pain and discomfort in the shoulder, then what if instead of trying to avoid it, push away from it, hate that it's there, I'm taking my presence, which is also another word for attention, and I am gently allowing my attention to be there, not in a way that's pushing against it, but just in a way of putting my attention there and allowing it to just be present with it. Almost as though, this movie is going to date me, but if you all remember the movie Inner Space, where Dennis Quaid's character gets miniaturized and in the body of Martin Short. Definitely dating myself with that one. But almost as if you are going into that part of your body and becoming aware and present with the discomfort that's there. And it may sound strange in the beginning, but if it's something that you can start to practice and just notice the discomfort that's there, notice what's there, what you'll find is that the more that you do that and even bring some love and compassion to it, the more you practice that, the more that discomfort is going to lessen. I can't promise, and I won't promise that it's going to go away immediately. Sometimes it actually does, but what you'll find is that it may start to lessen, it may start to ease up, your body will start to relax a little bit more. And in doing that, you're also bringing your physiology back into balance. Now, this works for our emotional pain and discomfort as well. if there's something that's occurring in your life that you're experiencing some emotional discomfort with, instead of pushing away from it or even sometimes trying to talk our way out of it, if you can sit in stillness and just be with it from the lens of, I am here as a soul in a body to experience these emotions and these sensations. So if for a second I just choose to disconnect from the identity of who I am and put myself in the shoes of a curious explorer, as if I am an alien visiting this body to experience this for research, what is this that I'm experiencing? And allowing yourself to really be with those sensations and be with those feelings in a way that you probably haven't before. Because what it's doing is it's literally starting to shift your neural pathways. It's literally starting to shift your physiology. And it is helping you to, even incrementally, release the tension and the contraction that's surrounding either the physical pain or the emotional pain. And this is allowing you to be with it in a new way. And by being with it many times, we can start to shift it. Now, like I said, as with everything, these things take practice. So this is an invitation for you to play with this concept of presence and to play with being present, even with the things that aren't so fun, that are challenging for us, and taking a lens of, this is part of the tapestry of the human experience that I am living right now. And how can I be present even to those things that may not be fun or enjoyable and may not feel good? But when you take that lens of seeing it through the explorer that is experiencing this, it helps to in one way create a healthy distance from it where you're not identifying with it, and also to create the energetic shift around it, where if our instinct is to push away from something, and instead you're allowing it to be there, saying, okay, pain in my shoulder, okay, emotional pain that I'm experiencing, you're welcome to be here, I allow you to be here. You really will be surprised by how much things will loosen or shift or move, because you're no longer pushing away from it and saying, no, 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 I want to deny you, I want to avoid you, I want to get rid of you. And it's bringing the presence of your attention and your energy into being present with whatever is, because presence is really being in the space in between in any given moment. And that's an element of presence that I think many times we don't talk enough about. And it's a concept that I continue to integrate and play with in my own life, in how can I be more present in these things? And when I feel old things come up, or when I want to push away from something that's really uncomfortable, how can I be with what's happening in the moment? How can I be with the pain in my shoulder and notice that the more that I am present with it, possibly even asking it, what is it that you're trying to teach me? What is the message that you have for me? Allowing it to be there as part of me, as part of the experience, then those things really do start to shift after a while. So that's my invitation for you in this episode, is to sit with this concept of presence and ask yourself, what am I being present to? Where is my attention on a regular basis? When things come up that are uncomfortable or that are painful, either emotionally or otherwise, what is my response, and how can I start to bring greater presence to that experience? And remembering that maxim of, if you move, it will stay. And if you stay, it will move. If you jump away from it and run away from it, it'll still be there for you until it's heard, until it's witnessed, until it's seen. And if I stay with it, if I allow it to be there, if I go into presence with it, if I breathe through the discomfort and stay with it, then eventually it will start to move, to loosen, or to unwind. And so that is your invitation this week, to sit with the concept of presence. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Courage to Rise podcast. Visit my website, couragetorise.com, for more information on one-on-one coaching, group coaching programs, and other upcoming events. Remember, life's too short not to sparkle. Sparkle on.